Yeah. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let me jump on this other channel, everybody. Jump on that one. Start that recording. Let's make sure we charged up with that. Good morning. Good morning. Man, I feel good. Anyone looking for? Nope. You want to need. You want to need. You want to need. I don't need that. I don't need that. Okay. Now we talking. There we go. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm your instructor, Pierre Huey, aka Mr. P. The P is for patience. Okay. The P is also for pass your test. All right. Today is Full Court Friday. Y'all know what we doing Full Court Friday. We go through everything, go through the whole book, or all the relevant chapters of the book we go through. Okay. Let me make sure everybody is on line like we need to be. All right. Got that. All right, to all my virtual private study group, always be checking your email for when we go live, okay? I do add on a regular basis, almost at least 5 times a week, we add the videos to the certain sections, depending on what we're dealing with. You know, like it's broken down into 4 sections. The 4 sections are... 4 sections according to the CIB. Mr. Marvin, do you remember what the CIB stands for yet? It stands for the Candidate Information Bulletin. It's where they tell you the content that they're primarily looking for. Steve, what's going on? How y'all doing? All my TikTok folks, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Hey, Mia. What's up, Mia? Who else? Kenny in the building. Who else? Mia, Kenny, Nene, Jean, and Patricia. What's going on? How y'all doing? Thank y'all for joining. Give me some likes, please. Thank you. If you don't mind. Because I promise you, when I come to y'all pages, when y'all doing y'all thing, I will give y'all a ton of likes. I love doing that. All right. So Full Court Friday, we talk about everything. Barber styling theory, examination content outline. This is the CIB. If you are taking your barber theory exam or you're coming close to taking your barber theory exam, it makes sense to get in contact with your state board and find your CIB. Okay. CIB stands for Candidate Information Bulletin. Harvey Dent. Okay. Thank you. All right. This is where they tell you everything that they're looking for. In South Carolina, which is where I'm based, they are looking for the following 4 sections. Number 1, scientific concepts. Number 2, implements and equipment. Number 3, hair care services. And number 4, facial hair and skin care services. Now, let's go through the percentages real quick. Scientific concepts is 35%. This is for the master hair care, by the way. Registered barber has less number of questions. You're not really dealing with chemicals and all that stuff. But here's what I tell everybody. The studying that you have to do for the registered barber is the same thing as the studying that you have to do for the master hair care, with the exception of you're studying a little bit more about chemicals. But you're still studying within the same amount of time, which is 1,500 hours. Why wouldn't you do the master hair care? Because in South Carolina, once you get the master hair care, what you can do, you don't necessarily have to work in a barbershop. You can apply your trade anywhere else. You can be in a suite. You can be in a salon. You can do all of that because your master hair care, you're authorized to deal with chemicals. All right. That's what master hair care really is dealing with over registered barber. Okay. For the theory test, registered barber, you got 60 questions. For master hair care, you got 110. Trust me, the more you study this, the more that seems like a lot of questions. It's not a lot of questions. I can guarantee you, especially when you're dealing with my class. I ask you so many questions that you're just like, man, you can throw any of this shit at me. All right, so we're gonna go through the percentages real quick. Scientific concepts, 35%. Infection control, safety practices, human anatomy and physiology, signs, symptoms, conditions, disorders, and diseases related to skin and the hair, and basic chemistry of products used in barbering. Okay. Part 2, implements and equipment, 10%. A, identify the function, purpose, and care of tools used in hair services. And B, understand and apply safety and sanitation practices for use of implements and equipment. Next, part 3, you got hair care services, 40%. 40%. Okay. If you fuck up there, you have failed this test. All right. If you fuck up there, you have fucked up this test because it's 40%. So you want to make sure that you own that. You want to make sure you own scientific concepts. Matter of fact, between scientific concepts and haircare services, that's 75% of the test. You can damn near, you got to have a 70 right now. Dre Sean, thank you for following me. Right now, 75% you can afford to miss out of the master hair care. You can miss about 30. I think we calculated it about 30 to 33 questions and still pass because you got to have a 70, right? 75% of this is hair care services and scientific concepts. Okay. So if you on point with that shit, you're going to be on point with this test straight like that. Miss Fields, thank you. Betty Fields 948. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for, chatting with us, all this stuff, leave a comment, all that good stuff. All right, haircare services, 40%, client consultation, analysis, and documentation for haircare services. Hair care, B, hair care, C, hair design, D, apply knowledge of prep, procedures, and safety for head shaving, and E, apply knowledge of principles, procedures, and safety for chemical services, okay? You're talking about predisposition tests, you're talking about strand tests, hair coloring, we'll talk about facial hair, hair lightening, foiling, chemical hair relaxing, restructuring, and curl reduction. We'll go through those. And part four, facial hair and skincare services, which is 15%. Client consultation, analysis, documentation for facial hair and skincare services. B, apply knowledge of draping for facial hair and skincare services. C, apply knowledge of principles, procedures, and safety for facial hair and skincare services. And D, apply knowledge of purpose and types of electrotherapy and light therapy. Even though I haven't seen a whole bunch of questions dealing with electrotherapy and light therapy, maybe one, but all of that is within the scope of the CIB and what they're looking for. Now we are going to get into it. So here's how we're going to do this. Since I don't think anybody, let me see if anybody on here that can do any testing. So right now I have one of my newest students, Mr. Marvin Fuentes, in the building, but he's not quite ready for the quizzing part yet. So I'm not going to throw him through the fire. I don't want to hear anybody's mouth because, you threw me through the fire. No, I didn't. I gave you a few questions. I might have gave you 10 at a time, but I didn't kill you. Okay. All right. So we're going to do the full court press this way. We're going to just jump in this book real quick. We're going to skip around. We're going to talk about higher percentage things, higher percentage concepts, but we're not going to get into higher percentage questions because that is part of my actual paid class, which is Pass Barber Theory. Matter of fact, if you are somebody that you know is trying to pass this damn test and you need a little help, the link is in my bio. I generally add new content almost every day, meaning in the form of what I'm doing now. Okay. So a lot of my private virtual study with my students, we take those sessions and we put them in its own little thing. But basically, the first 3 parts of this class is the most important. And those are the high percentage questions, the CIB, and basically putting it all together. Okay. You don't necessarily have to go through all the other parts where I transcribe the book in my own little terms and things like that. You don't necessarily have to go through that, but those sections are there if you need to brush up on something very specific, right? So if you needed to study just anatomy and physiology, that's the thing that you need to work on. I have videos where we go in depth on all of that stuff. But if it's more or less, okay, well, I need to brush up on everything just in general as a whole. I've studied all this, but I need to brush up on it, say, in the next 3 days, 5 days a week, something like that. Then you might want to see the first part of that class, which is the high percentage questions. Okay. And for my students that are watching, they're about to test everybody. They got literally 2 weeks before we start sending in the final paperwork, and they complete their hours. I clap for y'all right now because y'all can't clap for yourself because nobody's on here, but that's going to change soon. Anyway, all right. So with that being said, in the CIB, guess what chapters we're not going to worry about in the book? We're not going to worry about the history of barbering. We're not going to worry about chapter 2, life skills. We're not going to worry about professional image. Those questions that come out of there, most of them, like I said, they may not even... I ask my students all the time after they've taken the test, did y'all see anything from those first 3 chapters? And they usually say no. If they do see one, you can pretty much take an educated guess and get to where you need for those. Those are not the meat and potatoes of this test. Okay, so we're not going through anything that's low percentage. Guess what else we're not going to talk about? Chapter 19, preparing for licensure and employment. That's not in there. That's not on the test. Chapter 20, working behind the chair, not in the test. Chapter 21, business of barbering, not in the test. Those are in different classes that I got, but that is not for the test. So we're not here for that. We are here for Part 2, general sciences, which is infection control, implements, tools, and equipment, general anatomy, physiology, basics of chemistry, basis of electricity, the skin, structure, disorders, diseases, properties and disorders of the hair and scalp. Part 3, practice of barbering, treatment of the hair and scalp, men's facial massage and treatments, shaving and facial hair design, men's haircut and styling, men's hair replacement. Not so much on men's hair replacement. They may have a question or two out of 110 about that, but I digress. Part 4, advanced barbering services. Chapter 16, women's hair cutting and styling. Now we starting to get somewhere. Chapter 17, chemical texture services, all in there. Matter of fact, a lot of times I take chapter 17, chemical texture services, and I put it together with the chemistry chapter because a lot of those principles tend to overlap and parallel each other, okay? In chapter 18, hair coloring and hair lightening, it is all over that test. Out of 110 questions, do not be surprised if you see 8 to 12, possibly even more questions just dealing with hair coloring and lightening, okay? All right, so let's get into it. Page 54. Let's see. And you can just listen along, Marvin. I know it's about the time for you, right? All right. So, chapter 54, like I said, we're going to try to go through as much of the relevant stuff as possible, not necessarily the high percentage stuff, but the relevant parts, okay? First, let's talk about OSHA. Federal agencies, you got OSHA, Occupational Safety Health Administration, created as part of the U.S. Department of Labor to regulate and enforce safety and health standards to protect employees in the workplace. They are famously known for enacting the OSHA Act of 1970, which starts the requirement of material safety data sheets. All right, material safety data sheets, MSDSs. They ended up becoming SDSs, safety data sheets, right? For all my folks here that are working at different factories and all this stuff, y'all know about OSHA. Y'all know if something go wrong on a forklift or if something go wrong on a line or something go wrong on a pallet, something like that. You know, OSHA got its standards for testing and enforcing and regulation, safety and all that good stuff. Y'all know who OSHA is, okay? The Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Guess what? They're just as operable in the shop and the beauty industry, okay? Barbershops, salons, nail salons, all that stuff, massage place, spas, massage parlors, all that stuff. Guess what? We got to deal with OSHA too, all right? So you got to be aware of their standards. Okay, not so much about the material safety data sheets in, say, like the workplace, but you do need to be aware that OSHA is out there, and if you go wrong, OSHA will come get you, all right? Next, let's see who else we're dealing with. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. Why is the EPA so important? The EPA registers all types of disinfectants sold and used in the United States. One more time. Hey, Kelly and Joseph, Georgia, how y'all doing? The EPA registers all types of disinfectants sold in the United States. Disinfectants, chemical products that destroy most bacteria, excluding spores. All right, remember that one. So disinfectants do not kill bacterial spores. I will ask that question a bunch. Okay, that is very high percentage. All right, disinfectants destroy most bacteria, fungi, and viruses on surfaces. There are two types used in the barbershop: hospital disinfectants and tuberculocidal disinfectants. All right, hospital disinfectants effective for cleaning blood and body fluids from non-porous surfaces. What is a non-porous surface? Non-porous surface is an item made or constructed of a material that has no pores or openings and that cannot absorb liquids. All right. Next, tuberculocidal disinfectants are often referred to as phenolics, are proven to kill the bacterium that causes tuberculosis, aka TB. All my barber students know this. When you're trying to apply to be a barber student and send your application in, you have to get one of these tests. You have to test for tuberculosis. Got to get a TB test. We're gonna knock on wood, knock, knock, knock. Everybody that's taken a TB test has been negative, okay? including me, like in all my career. I can't think of anybody that tested positive for TB in my 28 years in this industry. Okay. So let's knock on wood that it stay that way. All right, let's see what else we got. Infection control refers to the methods used to eliminate or reduce the transmission of infectious organisms. Barbers must understand and remember the following 4 types of potentially harmful organisms. You have bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. All right. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's see. What am I looking for? No, that's not it. Where did they put it? All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into those real quick. Bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled microorganisms. One, single-cell. Microorganisms have both plant and animal characteristics. A microorganism, what is that? Any organism of microscopic or submicroscopic size. Some bacteria are harmful and some bacteria are harmless. High percentage. Let's get into it. 2 types of bacteria. You have non-pathogenic and you have pathogenic. Okay, non-pathogenic, harmless. Pathogenic, harmful. Few key instances of non-pathogenic bacteria. Non-pathogenic bacteria are actually good for you. They're used to make certain medicines in the human body. Non-pathogenic bacteria help the body break down food, protect against infection, and stimulate the immune system. Okay, that's non-pathogenic. Pathogenic is harmful and it will fuck your body up. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right. Classifications of pathogenic bacteria. This gets even higher percentage. You got 3. You got cocci, bacilli, spirilla. Okay. Cocci, round shaped. Bacilli, rod shaped. Spirilla, spiral shaped. Self-explanatory. Within the cocci family, guess what? You got 3 classifications of those. You got staphylococci, streptococci, diplococci. Staphylococci brings about things like abscesses, pustules, staph infections. Basically, staphylococci, staph infection. Streptococci, strep throat. All right. Pus-forming bacteria arranged in curved lines resembling a string of beads. Cause infections such as strep throat and blood poisoning. Okay. That's streptococci. And diplococci, spherical bacteria grow in pairs and cause diseases such as pneumonia. Those will become a test question on my cumulative test that's going to be put, my cumulative quiz that I'm going to be putting in my past barber theory class very soon. It's going to be a whole bunch of more quizzes coming up in there. Okay. All right. See what else we need to talk about. Virus submicroscopic particle infects and resides in the cells of a biological organism. The biggest thing that you need to be aware of when we're dealing with viruses and when we're talking about viruses and testing about viruses on the test, on the barber theory exam, just know virus capable of replication only through taking over the host cell reproductive function. That's the only way a virus can invade a system. Okay. Takes over the host cell's reproductive function. What else? Hepatitis. High percentage. Hepatitis, bloodborne virus that causes disease and can damage the liver. Okay. In general, it is difficult to contract hepatitis. However, it is easier to contract than HIV because hepatitis can be present in all body fluids of those who are infected. Now, know this real quick. 3 types of hepatitis that are of concern for barbers. Hepatitis A, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Okay. Hepatitis B and C spread from person to person through blood and less often through other body fluids. Now, the thing about it, the question might have something to do with which hepatitis has vaccines or which one doesn't. Basically, Hep A and Hep B got vaccines now. Hep C does not. Okay. I'm in here. Rakim, what's up, man? What's up? Hey, I'm in the you can join the virtual private study too. I sent the email out. I didn't send the text, man. I apologize. But you can join the virtual private study if you got the email. And if you didn't get the email in your main folder, just look in your spam folder. But the link is in there. We are recording live on there too. Matter of fact, if you join Rakim, we'll do some me and you'll do some questions because I know you're about ready. So for all the people that's watching, my man Rakim Houston, he is ready for his test. So that should be going on pretty soon. I can't wait to get see his results. I can't wait for him to have success with this test. And hopefully what we can do is just do like a Me and him can do like a little panel, like an interview or something like that, where he talk about his insights to the test. But yeah, you're welcome to stay on TikTok, Rakim. But I'm in the virtual private study too, if you want to hop on over. Okay, let's see. All right. Where were we? Fungi, single cell organisms like bacteria, but they grow in irregular masses that include molds, mildews, and yeast. They can produce contagious diseases such as ringworm. That's the important part of that one. All right. Fungi is associated with ringworm and vice versa. Ringworm is a type of fungi. All right. Most frequently encountered fungal infection resulting from hair surfaces, tinea barbi. Tinea means ringworm. Who's calling me? I'm in the middle of class. I can't answer this phone right now. I'm in the middle of class. All right. You got tinea capitis, fungal. Well, let me back up. Tinea barbi. Tinea stands for ringworm. Barbi stands for beard. Tinea barbi, also known as barber's itch, superficial fungal infection caused by a variety of dermatophytes that are fungi that require keratin for growth. What is keratin? Keratin is a fibrous protein. Just remember that for later. Where's Bam when I need him? I'm gonna leave him alone. But yeah, you're dealing with fungal infection here on the face and in the beard. Okay, that's tinea barbi. Tinea capitis going on up here. All right, the scalp, top of the head, back, all that good stuff on the sides. All of that's tinea capitis. All right, characterized fungal characterized by red papules or spots at the opening of your hair follicles. Let's see. Parasites, not too much that we're going to really see on the test, but I'll go over it real quick. Organisms grow, feed, shelter on, or inside another organism, referred to as a host, while contributing nothing to the survival of that organism. That's the biggest difference between parasites and viruses. All right. Parasites don't require taking over the reproductive function, but it can do all of that stuff and more. All right. Let's see. Anything else up in here? Yes. All right. Highest level of decontamination. This is high percentage stuff. Sterilization. It is the process that destroys all microbial life, including spores. Okay. Third step that can be incorporated, but is very rarely mandated. All right. Next, let's talk about cleaning real quick. Infection control has two steps: cleaning and disinfecting. When you clean is a mechanical process of scrubbing back and forth, okay, until you remove visible dirt, debris, all that good stuff. After you clean, then you disinfect, okay? There are two different things. Disinfection is a chemical process. Cleaning is a mechanical process, all right? Scabies lice. That's right, Big Justin. That's it. Now you're talking. All right, but step one, cleaning, just talk about that. When a surface is properly cleaned, number of contaminants on the surface is greatly reduced, not destroyed. Okay. Let's see. Disinfecting. Second step of infection control, disinfecting. Remember, disinfection is the process that eliminates most, but not necessarily all, microorganisms on non-porous surfaces. Okay. Disinfecting is not effective against bacterial spores. All right. And bacterial spores is just saying when a bacteria says, oh man, I'm threatened, it produces a wax-like type of shield around itself to say, okay, I'm gonna wait till I can do some more invading in a better environment for me. Then when the environment is produced for that, they shed that, come out of their shell, their wax-like shell, which is the spores, and then they go back to being reproductive. Okay, that's how that works. But disinfectants don't kill bacterial spores, but sterilization does, and you need something like an autoclave to get that done. All right, let's see. Anything else in here? Yeah. Types of disinfectants. The one that you really need to know: household bleach is 5.25% sodium hypochlorite. It's an effective disinfectant and has been used extensively as a disinfectant in the barber shop. Using too much can damage some metals and plastics, so be sure to read the label for safe use, which is required by the EPA, which stands for the Environmental Protection Agency, to give you the information that you need to know. But OSHA is the one that requires that you have the right to know about all of that stuff. Y'all see how that worked? All right. Anything else in here? Not really. All right. Next, we're going to jump to implements, tools, and equipment. The biggest thing you need to know about is your combs, brushes, shears, and your razors. All right. Biggest thing about the combs, most of the combs used in haircutting measure between 7 and 8 inches long with a shape that may be straight, tapered, or handled. Do I got? Yep, I got a highlighter right here. So we're going to highlight that. The materials used in the construction, you got hard rubber, carbon, graphite, and metal. Okay. Hard rubber, slightly flexible and durable, but can deteriorate if you left in a disinfectant. Carbon, anti-static, stiff, and heat and chemical resistant. Graphites is the same thing. Graphites can be a little bit tougher or a little bit less rigid, however you want to word that. Okay, and metal can retain heat to help set in a hairstyle. It's made from either tempered aluminum or other metals, but they may corrode in reaction to chemicals such as hydrogen peroxide. All right, that's the biggest thing to know about the combs. Oh yeah, styling all-purpose comb used for general haircutting and styling. Taper comb used where a gradual blending of the hair is required. Flat handle comb is everybody calling me. Sorry about that, y'all. Wide flat handle comb is more like for like flat tops or an option to use in clip over comb. I'm a bigger fan of an all-purpose comb for that, but that's another story. Wide tooth combs can be used to control large amounts of hair, spread, relax, cream, detangle hair, or comb through curly hair textures. Not to be confused with a hair pick, which is the effective choice for combing through textured or tightly curled hair. That is a high percentage alert. Okay. Next, brushes. The biggest thing you need to know about brushes, they got different types of bristles. You got synthetic, you got natural, you got a mixed bristle brush, a paddle brush, which is like big in size. Paddle brush is like comb, you know, when you see like those, just think like Bridgerton when they combing the hair, they're using something like a paddle brush to just like that real long fine hair. You're using a paddle brush for something like that. All right. The Envy Cupcake. I like that name. Welcome. All right. Round brush available with all, this is high percentage, available with all bristle types and metal or plastic bases in different diameters. It creates volume and or curl in blow dry styling. Vented brush, general drying and styling work, and a wet brush is for detangling wet hair. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about shears real quick. You have, do you remember how many parts to a shear? Okay. You have, let's count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is correct. All right. The biggest thing that you need to know about the shears is you have cast shears or forward shears, which cast, you're dealing with heat and steel to a liquid form for pouring into a mold. Forward shears are working heated metal in a finished shape through the process or hammering, bow, or compression. Okay. Forward shears, I like using forward shears a lot better. They tend to operate better if you're dealing with dry or wet hair. They do cost more, but they are worth the price. All right. But the basic parts of the haircut and shears, you got the moving blade, steel blade. The moving blade and the steel blade also have a moving point and a steel point. Okay. Both of those are referred to as cutting edges. All right. You got the pivot screw. That's the way that it goes up and down and moves back and forth. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you later. Like I said, if you got any question, man, it don't matter what time, just text me. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Let's see. Pivot screw. You got a finger brace that holds your pinky. The finger grip, ring finger goes up in there most times. The shank is like between the pivot screw and the finger grip, and then you have the thumb grip. The shank is between both of those. Okay. The shank is literally like the connection point. That's the best way I can put it. All right. Let's see what else we got. Anything else on here? Yeah, parts of the clipper. Let's talk about electric clippers real quick. Driven by one of 3 basic motor types. You got rotary, pivot, magnetic. Okay. Anything else about that? So basically, rotary spins around in a circle. That's how it powers that's how the motor is powered, and that's the motor powers the rotary. It spins around in a circle, and it starts that mechanical action of the blades moving back and forth. A pivot, you literally just have a pivot point that just moves back and forth. And then the magnetic will pull it one way and then let it fall back. Pull it one way and then let it fall back in a stationary position. Okay, that's how the 3 electric clippers work. Matter of fact, I'm a bigger fan of pivot types of motors, particularly in trimmers. So the corded Andes T outliner still my favorite by far, because that pivot action is like it seems more powerful. All right, is my favorite. Okay, let's see what else we got. Straight razors. Straight razors got 11 parts. Okay, I always break it down into 3, 4, 4. So the 3 is the top part of the blade. You got the head, back, shoulder. The bottom part of the blade. 4, you got the point, the edge, the blade, the heel, and the back 4 is all the stuff that makes the mechanical part of the razor do what it needs to do. You have the shank, the pivot, the tang, and the handle. All right. See, anything else about implements, tools, and equipment? The difference between the implement and a tool is a tool has a motor, an implement does not. So clippers would be tools, combs, razors would be implements, and then equipment would be something like your barber chair, your station, your mirror, if it's sitting on the, if it's sitting on the wall, sitting on the station, your shampoo bowls, all of those are like categorized as equipment. Okay. And that's pretty much it for implements, tools, and equipment on here. Anatomy and physiology. You have basically cells, basic units of all living things from bacteria to plants to animals, including human beings. Without cells, life does not exist. You need to pretty much know about protoplasm. Cells are all living things composed of a substance called protoplasm, colorless, jelly-like, found inside cells in which food elements such as proteins, fats, carbs, mineral salts, and water are present. The nucleus is the dense, active protoplasm found in the center of the cell, plays an important part in cell reproduction and metabolism. Cytoplasm is the watery fluid that surrounds the nucleus of the cell and is needed for growth, reproduction, and self-repair. All right, real quick. Also, cells have the ability to reproduce through a process called mitosis. It's the reproduction of human tissues occurs when the cell divides into 2 identical cells called daughter cells. Next, let's get into some high percentage stuff. Tissue is a collection of similar cells that perform a particular function. Each kind of tissue has a certain function and can be recognized by a certain appearance. You have 4. You have connective, epithelial, muscle, nerve. Connective tissue contains bone, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, blood, lymph, and adipose tissue, which is a technical term for fat. Epithelial, protective covering on body surfaces such as skin, mucous membranes, tissue inside the mouth, lining of the heart, digestive, respiratory organs, and the glands. Muscle tissue, of course, contracts and moves various parts of the body, because a muscle contracts, it expands and contracts, of course. All right. And then nerve tissue carries messages to and from the brain, controls and coordinates all bodily functions. All right. Another high percentage. Histology is the study of tiny structures found in living tissues. Okay. That's high percentage stuff. Anything else in here? Skeletal system. Well, we're going to talk about bones of the skull. Skull is divided into 2 parts. You got the cranium. The cranium is an oval bony case that protects the brain. Okay. Very simple, but very high percentage. And the facial skeleton, framework of the face that is composed of 14 bones. All right. Let's see what else we got. Bones of the cranium. You got technically 8. But it's 8 bones of the cranium, but 2 of them count for, 2 of them count for having 2 sides. Does that make sense? All right, so you got the occipital bone, parietal bones that form the side and top. That's what I'm talking about. Frontal bone, temporal bones, ethmoid bone, sphenoid bone. The parietal and temporal bones are both sides. Okay. Let's see who this is. Come see me. Okay, bones of the face, 14 bones of the face listed below, most involved in the practice of barbering. You got nasal, lacrimal, zygomatic, maxillae, mandible. Hey, what's up? Bones of the neck. I'm in a shooting class right now, just so you know. Okay, all right. Bones of the neck, don't really need to know too much about that. Chest, shoulder, back, no, not too much. Shoulder, arm, hand, no. But muscular system, definitely high percentage. Let's get into it real quick. Muscular system, cover shape, supports the skeleton, and its function is to help produce movement within the body. Myology is the study of the structure, functioning, and diseases of the muscles. Okay, there are 3 parts to a muscle. Let's talk about them. There he is. Okay, there are three parts to a muscle. Let's talk about them. The origin, part of the muscle that does not move, is attached closer to the skeleton. The belly, middle part of the muscle. Insertion, the part of the muscle that moves and is farthest from the skeleton. Let's see something real quick. Let's see. Hey, Rakim, can you hear me? I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Can you hear me though? And if you can, I need to see if I can hear you back. Let's see. If you can, unmute yourself real quick and let me know. I'll probably be back then. Okay. When you get a chance, Rakim, let me know if you can hear me, okay? All right. A lot more of the muscle stuff, you probably ain't gonna see too much of that. Like they, according to the CIB, they don't get too in-depth on it, but they do need to know that you got a basic understanding of certain things. You need to know that a muscle expands and contracts. You need to know it's 3 parts to it. You need to know what those 3 parts are, right? Like I said, they don't really go into arteries of the head, face, and neck, and all that stuff. Like a lot of times people miss. I understand that scientific concepts is the most missed part, and within scientific concepts, people mistakenly think it's anatomy and physiology that bothers them the most out of scientific concepts. A lot of times it be stuff that you take for granted. It's just how they ask the question and they tripped you up. Okay, that's usually what that comes down to. Like I said, they're not going to ask about the reproductive system in anatomy and physiology. They're not going to ask about all that stuff. And the CIB will even tell you in anatomy and physiology, you're looking for stuff dealing with the head, face, and neck. You don't have to get so thoroughly in depth with it. You just have to know, though. You have to know basic enough to understand what they're saying when they ask the question. A lot of times, though, y'all, it's just that people don't study this shit. But they're not studying it. What I've come to find out, they're not studying it a lot because they think it's so in depth that they got to know every single thing. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to know every single thing, just a lot of the basics. Okay. So when you go through these chapters, that's another little secret. So when you go through these chapters, always ask yourself, what is some of the basic things that can't be simplified even further than what it is? And if you can ask that, if you can identify that within the chapter, especially for scientific concepts, you're getting somewhere. All right. We're going to go through a few more and then we're going to jump back for part 2. All right. So we're going to go through chemistry real quick. What is chemistry? Science that deals with the composition, structure, and properties of matter, divided into 2 areas, organic and inorganic. Okay. Now, here's where a lot of this stuff starts to matter. You start to talk about things like oxidation. What is oxidation? It is defined as either the addition of oxygen or the loss of hydrogen. All right. One more time. I'm going to say that one. Oxidation can be defined as either the addition of oxygen or the loss of hydrogen. Let me highlight that. One more time for the people in the back. Oxidation can be defined as either the addition of oxygen or the loss of hydrogen. It is a chemical reaction that combines an element or compound with oxygen to produce an oxide. When oxygen is chemically combined with the substance is referred to as being oxidized. All right, that tends to be a higher percentage question. I'm not going to say it's higher than 70%, but don't be surprised if you see something dealing with oxidation in there, if not the very definition of it. Okay. And just knowing the depth, that's what I'm talking about, breaking things down to the simplest of pieces. Now that you know oxidation is just dealing with adding oxygen or taking away hydrogen, they might ask the question a different way, but just knowing what oxidation is, you're good. Okay. Let's see. So if you know what oxidation is, you know what reduction is because it's the opposite. All right. Oxidation and reduction always occur simultaneously and are referred to as a redox reaction. In a redox reaction, the oxidizing agent is always reduced and the reducing agent is always oxidized, meaning you're either adding oxygen or taking away hydrogen. Okay. For example, when hydrogen, now we get into high percentage stuff. Remember, we was talking about chemical texture services and chemistry kind of being in the same. This is why I put them together, because we're going to talk about some chemical texture services, chemistry stuff right now. Here we go. For example, when hydrogen peroxide in the form of a developer, all my stylists know what I'm talking about. All my barbers that do color, y'all know what I'm talking about when we get into developers and stuff like that. Okay. When it is mixed with an oxidation hair color product, such as a permanent or permanent color, the hair color product gains oxygen. What does that mean? It is oxidized, because what do we know now? Oxidation is adding oxygen or removing hydrogen. Okay. At the same time, the hydrogen peroxide loses oxygen and is reduced. In this example, the hair color product is the reducing agent. The biggest thing you need to know is what a redox reaction is, and oxidation cannot occur without reduction. Okay. Let me tell them get that whole paragraph. Okay. Next, chemistry chapter. Exothermic reaction. When certain chemical reactions release energy in the form of heat, it is called an exothermic reaction. Okay, an example of this is the heat produced after mixing activator and waving lotion in an exothermic permanent wave product. When the activator, which contains hydrogen peroxide, is added to the waving lotion, an oxidation reaction occurs that produces heat. Okay, it is radiating out, hence the term exothermic. Exo, out, thermic means heat. Okay, Larry, what's going on? Endothermic. So if you got an exothermic, of course you got an endothermic. Chemical reaction that requires the absorption of energy or heat from an external source for the reaction to actually occur. Think about this. What's a real easy example to give you? Melting ice. Think about it for a second, what we're saying. Okay. You are absorbing energy or heat from an external source for the reaction to occur. So if you got ice, it is an example of an endothermic reaction, because if it was not absorbing heat from its surroundings, it would not be melting. Okay, that's an endothermic reaction. The ice is receiving heat from its surroundings, whether that be just being sitting out in a cup or anything like that, or you being out in the heat or anything like that. That is an endothermic reaction. Okay. Anything else on here? Yes. Talk about pH real quick. Actually, let's back up for a second. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, y'all. Emotions. Emotion is a physical mixture of two immiscible or unmixable liquids held together by an emulsifying agent. What is the most famous version of an emulsion? Shampoo. Okay. An emulsion is a suspension of one liquid dispersed in another. Although emulsions tend to separate in time, with proper formulation and storage, an emulsion may remain stable for at least 3 years. Think about that when you're dealing with shampoo. Just off what I just told you, what an emulsion is. You got an agent that can hold it together, which we'll talk about in shampoos in 1 second. But think about this: if you got a shampoo and you had that damn shampoo for 3, 4, 5 years, and it's just been sitting there, and you ain't never used it or something like that, and you look up in there, it's gonna separate, and you're gonna be like, "Why does this look so crazy?" If you've never done that, just ask somebody that has, right? Ask your stylist, have they ever had shampoo sitting around for a very long time, and what does it look like when you take the cover off and look inside? A lot of that stuff separates, even though you got a agent that's supposed to hold it together. Now, let's talk about that. A surfactant or base detergent is a substance that allows, this is high percentage stuff, by the way, is a substance that allows oil and water to mix or emulsify by reducing surface tension. The term surfactant is a contraction for surface active agent. A surfactant molecule has two certain parts. Head of the molecule loves water. The tail loves oil. Since like dissolves like, the hydrophilic or water-loving head dissolves in water, and the lipophilic or oil-loving tail dissolves in oil. This configuration allows the surfactant molecule to mix and dissolve in both water and oil to join together to form an emulsion. So basically, that's why shampoos stay that consistency that they are, but it's technically oil and water, but it's held together by a surfactant. So that's why I say shampoo is the most famous example of an oil and water emulsion. Oh, and while we're at it, it is an oil and water emulsion. Doesn't mean that it's the same as a water and oil emulsion. That's a completely different thing. They can trip you up asking that question. They could say, what is an example of a water and oil emulsion? And naturally, you thinking, because we just talked about it, oh, yeah, shampoo. No, nope, can't do it. Shampoo is an oil and water emulsion. Just something to think about. All right. Real quick, pH. Besides my name, pH stands for potential hydrogen. All right. The official definition: the relative degree of acidity or alkalinity of a substance. pH scale ranges from 0 to 14. It measures the concentration of hydrogen ions in acidic and alkaline water-based solution. Notice pH written with a small p, which represents quantity, and a capital H, which represents the hydrogen ion. All right. Like I said, range on scale from 0 to 14. pH of 7 is neutral. pH below indicates acidity or being acid. pH of 7, above 7 indicates alkaline. All right. pH scale is a logarithmic scale. This is really important too. This is high percentage stuff too. Okay. pH scale is a logarithmic scale, which means that a change of one whole number represents a tenfold change in pH. For example, a pH of 8, 10 times more alkaline than a pH of 7. A change of two whole numbers indicates a change of 10 times 10 or 100-fold. Therefore, a pH of 9 is 100 times more alkaline than a pH of 7, and so on and so on. So a pH of 10 would be 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000 times more alkaline than a pH of 7. Something to think about. pH of hair skin is around 5. pH of shampoo is around 4.5 to 7.5, and the pH of conditioner is 3.0 to 5.5. Anything else in here that we're going to talk about? Let's see. Oh, that is about it. That was chemistry. I'll give you electricity real quick. All right. Let's see. Two types of electric current. This is stuff that's relevant. Like I said, I'm trying to give you the relevant stuff. Whoever liked it, thank you for giving me that like. All right, you got direct current. Constant, even flowing current travels in one direction only, produces a chemical reaction. Battery operated instruments like flashlights, cell phones, cordless tools use direct current, like think a car battery or something like that. Alternating current, my favorite. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Alternating current is a rapid and interrupted current flowing first in one direction and then in the opposite direction that produces a mechanical action. Electric clippers, hair dryers, and other tools or appliances that plug directly into a wall outlet use AC. Let's talk about AC real quick. Here's the thing, y'all. I'm a bigger fan of AC trimmers. Remember, we just talked about the different types of motors. I like pivot motors that move this way, back and forth. I am a big fan of those. Okay. Pivot or grab. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Pivot will grab and then release it back to a stationary position. I really like that. That produces the action for the blades going this way. Okay. So it pulls it this way, it pivots it here and let it return. pivots it here, let it return. I like that type of action. And then once you add that to alternating current, it is a more powerful reaction, and it tends to feel like a more powerful and aggressive type of cut. That's what I mean when I'm talking about that type of thing. All right. So that matters because people ask me all the time my favorite trimmers. The trimmers that I like meet those requirements are the Andes, the corded Andes T outliners. You cannot beat them. Me and a bunch of what we'll call old school barbers are a big fan. I'm friends with a lot of barbers. I'm friends with a bunch of old school barbers, and I will ask them, what's your favorite trimmers? A lot of times they will say, man, there's nothing that quite compares to the old school corded Andes T outliners. Or the Andes outliners, but we might put a T blade on there because it's got the same type of motor, it's got the same type of current, electricity that it responds to. It's got the same type of blade action because of the alternating current and because of the pivot motor. Just something to think about. All right, what else we got? Electrical measurements. The amp or ampere is the standard unit for measuring the strength or rate of an electric current in a conductor. Just as a water hose must be able to expand as the amount of water flowing through it increases, so an electric wire must expand with an increase in the number of electrons. I don't remember them asking anything about the volt, but I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get a volt or a watt question. So volt is the unit that measures electrical pressure, all right? And the watt is the unit of power, and indicates how much electric energy is being used in 1 second. You're more likely to hear more about the amp than the other ones, okay? For the people still watching, thank you. Still watching, y'all stay with me. Larry stayed with me. Krusha, I don't know how to say that. And Malik Abdullah in the building. I appreciate y'all just sticking with me. I will be back for the rest of this, but pretty much, let me see if there's anything else for electricity. It's high percentage. Yes, infrared light produces the most heat. Infrared light, longer wavelength when compared to visible light, and penetrates more deeply into the body, produces more heat than visible light, and makes up 60% of natural sunlight. Okay. But yeah, that's about it for that. So now we got the skin, structure disorders, diseases, and properties disorders of the hair and scalp. And those will complete the scientific concepts part. And like I said, so 2 more chapters will complete the most failed part of the Barber theory. And I go through this all the time. Like I said, anybody that you know, if you're trying to, if you need help passing the Barber theory, if you need help refining any of that good stuff, my class is available. Link is in my bio. And you can find me everywhere on social media at pierrehui.com. If you want to directly go to my online library of classes, I'm adding new content almost every day to certain classes, and I'm going to be adding new classes very, very soon. Very soon. I got some very interesting stuff if you're looking for techniques and all that stuff. But first things first, you got to get that license, man. How do you get that license? You got to get that license. You got to take the theory. You got to take the practical. Okay. Like I said, if you need help with the theory, or if anybody that you know, if anybody on here has had, if my class has helped you and you're going to take the test, or you're talking to somebody that's going to take the test, if anybody in there after they fail, if they need my help, throw my name along, please. Because I know y'all in different states and all that stuff, but a lot of the, come to find out, the biggest tester all over the country is NIC. And NIC tends to have very, very, very similar versions of the test, no matter what state you're in. I think at the time I last talked to them, I think they was testing in 38 states. So I'm pretty sure my methods and my content could help you. But like I said, if you or anybody that you know can benefit from this type of class, just come see me. And I also have a class that will be going up very soon, Past Barber Practical. All right. So between Past Barber Theory and Past Barber Practical, you should have everything that you need to be able to get your license. Now, once you get your license, I got all kinds of stuff for that. I can't wait to get into all that good stuff. So, you know, we're talking about shape ups one-on-one, fading one-on-one, the barber starter pack. When we're talking about scheduling clients, the science of scheduling, it is a science. Trust me. Yeah, anybody that's cutting hair, y'all know what I'm talking about. When you're dealing with family and friends, and people just want to volunteer your time for you to use your expertise, how to deal with that. Like, I got classes for all that stuff. But before all that stuff, we got to get this license. How do you get it? Pass your barber theory, pass your barber practical. All right. I'm your instructor, Pierre Hui, aka Mr. P. The P today is for pass this fucking test. Okay, straight like that. I'll see y'all soon. And that one